Alrighty. My name is Satoshi Arakawa. I'm a senior character artist here at Daybreak Games on H1Z1. And I also have fellow character artist, senior character artist Ryan Zimmerman in here. He's going to field questions. You want to say what's up, Ryan?
What's up, guys?
Yay! So today I'm going to sort of go through our pipeline for making items for our game. Just sort of like the process that we go through each time. And, just sort of take it from there. We'll field some questions. And if anybody has questions about the art, feel free to put it in chat and Zim will flag it down and ask me. So, all right, so here we go. So this is a specific item that I am working on right now. It's a new vest armor. And we start off with a concept here. I gathered a bunch of reference from the internet and just sort of came up with an idea that I like. And then I just concepted out over the human mail just to, get an idea of what it's going to look like and maybe get some ideas, details sort of fleshed out in the concept before I start modeling. So I have a direction that I'm going in. In this case, I wanted it to be, look kind of like padded and, have some pouches and stuff and some extra gear. And, I wanted it to look a little bit techy, but not out of the realm of possibility in the real world. So it's kind of the direction I went with. And I also want it to look kind of different than what we already have and have some silhouette breaking features, like the shoulder pads and the strap around the waist and whatnot. So yeah, just something different, give you guys something cool and new for items. So yeah, so concept, and then the next step is usually going into a 3D program like Maya and modeling a low poly mesh. This one's already kind of cleaned up because I'm at the end of the process here, but it's not all that different from what I modeled initially. So it's kind of a low poly mesh. You don't see a lot of details. It just kind of has all the silhouette breaking pieces sort of modeled in, and I'm getting ready to basically take it into a sculpting program, which will allow me to add a lot of high resolution details that you would see in game. So yeah, so modeling in Maya, a lot of other programs available for this kind of stuff as well, like 3D Studio Max and Modo, and yeah. But for sculpting, I mainly use something called ZBrush, and this is basically, I'll bring in my low poly kind of like this. ZBrush is it's a sculpting program that will let you sort of manipulate millions and millions of polygons. And you can just, go crazy in here, and it runs really smooth. And like I can kind of show you guys, for those of you who aren't, very familiar with ZBrush, I can kind of give you an idea of, what it's capable of doing and what we do in here. So basically, got a sphere here. Just gonna. Don't want to do this. It's actually, so you can kind of come in here and like, you can sculpt anything you want, like, doesn't really matter. You can make a head out of a sphere and like, whatever you want, you could pretty much do in here. It's very free form, and like, you have a lot of creative freedom you could even do concepting in here too, where you're just roughing out really simple forms and coming up with cool ideas and stuff. But it's a very robust and great tool for artists. Yeah, so that's kind of the process so far. I don't know if there's any questions so far about any programs or anything like that.
Not yet.
Not yet. Cool. All right. So it's pretty cool, and there's also something called Dynamesh, which will allow me, I can actually just if I wanted to. Now normally, you know, it used to be in the old days you would just pull geo like this and it would just get completely messed up. Like it's getting messed up here, but with Dynamesh, it'll easily let you get clean geo on the fly, which is really awesome. So definitely something that we use a lot here at the studio. ZBrush is one of our main tools, and obviously this doesn't look like anything special, but I'm just showing you the capabilities of what it's capable of doing. So we go back to my low poly, and at this point I'm basically, I start the process of adding a bunch of details to this so that it kind of looks like the concept that I originally made. So let's bring up the concept. And like, you know, the main thing I figured that I would have to sculpt is a lot of like padding type stuff. And so these little like squares and whatnot, I want all that to look like, you know, like padding sort of underneath sort of like a nylon type material. So I'm going to have a lot of like folds and stuff underneath that. And basically, oops, hold on. So I'll subdivide to a certain extent, and then I'll just start sculpting like little folds onto it. And you can kind of already see that I've done it here. So it's like, you know, just ends up being like, yeah, lots of folds. And this is basically what this piece ended up looking like. So you start off with something really low, and when you're done, you end up with something like this. And obviously it's not a super quick process. You know, it takes time to get in there and sculpt these folds, and like, you know, you want specific areas like this part. I wanted like little mechanical pieces underneath the rubber material, like it was kind of bolted onto the pad underneath, and then the material was stitched on top of it to sort of immobilize it and protect it. So that was kind of the look I was going for. So I wanted a lot of like these little stress folds and stuff to make it look like it was stitched into the material itself. So I kind of do that pretty much to everything, like, you know, with the pouches and stuff. It's all about like all those folds and stuff. So let's get the details on here. This is kind of what my final sculpt ended up looking like. Okay, I can even show some of the pouches here. Yeah, so this is one of the pouches. I ended up putting a lot of detail into this just to get an idea of what the material will be like later. And like sometimes I'll add this like fabric detail, and sometimes I won't, but I'll do it just so that like when I get to the texture, I'm like, okay, this is what I want. This is what I want the material to look like when I texture it. So it just kind of gives me a visual reference for what I want to do when I get to the texture method, texturing part of the process. But yeah, and then we add in like extra details like stitching, and yeah, so all that good stuff. So yeah, that's basically the high-res sculpt. I just wanted to give you guys a look at that, at the high-res sculpt before I went on to like texturing and stuff like that. So once you do the high-res sculpt, you need to somehow get the low poly mesh to display all the details from the high poly mesh, and you have to go through a process called baking, which is you're basically taking the low poly, the high-res details, and you're baking out a map that gets applied to the low poly mesh and sort of fakes the detail. So I had that up in Maya a little earlier. So this was my low poly mesh, and then this is actually, let's do, if you go here, and let me turn off this. So you can kind of see here it's not like the greatest representation, but you can see even though it's a low poly mesh, we're able to get the detail from the high res mesh displaying onto the low res mesh, which makes it run in game. Like you obviously can't throw in the high poly mesh, which is like millions and millions of polygons, into the game and expect it to run. Like that would just never happen, obviously. So you end up doing this where you get all the details from the high poly mesh onto a low poly mesh, and now you're able to have like something look still very high detail, but game ready, and it's able to run. So at this point, I have baked out what's called an ambient occlusion map, which is basically, this is my ambient occlusion map. It's kind of like a depth shadow map. It just sort of highlights what is popping out and what is receding. And then obviously this is the normal map. This is basically what I was talking about, the map you bake out from the high res to the low res that sort of fakes all that the detail on the low poly mesh. So you bake those out, and you also make something called a color ID map, which I can show you that really quick. It right here. And this map, close this. Cursor is offset, so it's like hard to manipulate. Okay, so this basically kind of separates all my little pieces so that when I texture using a program called Dedo, I can assign specific materials to the different colors, and it knows where to put it. So anyways, I'm going to probably go into Dedo here and kind of show you guys how that works. Ryan, are there any questions yet? Or?
Yeah, you do have a couple. Let's see.
Okay.
How many years of college did it take you to get to where you are?
How many years of college? Well, I actually have an interesting background. I don't want to get too deep into that because they'll probably sidetrack everybody. But I went to a 4-year college for biochemistry, which has nothing to do with what I do now. So I did that, and then I actually went back to art school to do this, and that was 3 years, probably about 3.5 years. But to be honest, there are plenty of people in the industry who don't go to college or art school at all, and they're plenty successful. So I would think this is a profession where, going to art school does not necessarily mean success in the industry or breaking into the industry. So it's more probably about your portfolio and the effort you put into becoming a better artist. That would be like the bottom line. That being said, art school I think is a good way to sort of make the shortcuts to learn the software and stuff, because it's a lot easier having someone who already knows the programs teach you how to use it as opposed to trying to learn it on your own. But there's tons of online tutorials and like online courses that maybe not credited, but you learn stuff just as fast and probably for a lot less. So another great way to sort of get ahead for learning all the stuff you need to know. But for me, I kind of took the long road. It took me like a good 3 or 4 years of school to get back into the gaming industry. Was there any other questions? Or?
Let's see here. Gingy13 wants to know if you can outline it with light so it looks like Tron.
Outline it? I assume he's talking about the armor itself.
Yes.
Anything's possible, right? We make all of our items tintable so that we can make lots of variations from them. So if the word comes down that we need to make a Tron version, then it's definitely doable. But so maybe you'll get lucky at Gingy13. All right, so Dedo is a program that we have started using recently for texturing. It's a pretty awesome program that kind of gives you a faster way to make very realistic looking textures. And so that's kind of what I really wanted to base this stream around is that kind of process. So this item is not yet textured, so that's what I kind of wanted to tackle for the most part. And Ryan, if there's any interesting comments or questions,
FaZe wants to know, do you have any certain type of brushes for materials that kind of parlays into what you're doing?
When I hand paint stuff, I definitely have certain like brushes, like dirt brushes and stuff. But honestly, with something like Dedo, and another good one is Substance Painter, you don't really need your own brushes because they kind of come built into the programs, and also the materials. Like I'll show you guys, but the materials already have like so much stuff built into them. You don't really need to have like specific Photoshop brushes. Anyway, here, unless there's any other important questions, I can kind of get into it.
One person's asking, what kind of texture reses do you use?
Texture resolution. That's kind of on a item to item basis. For something like this vest, I think most of our textures are either 512 by 1024, and I think this one will end up being a 1024. And then I think like chest pieces are 1024, pant textures are 1024, and then I think gloves and gloves, head items, and boots are like 512s, something like that. But I always work at a much higher resolution than the final texture output, just so we can see the detail better when I'm texturing. So, so I've kind of already set up a dedo file here, but basically I slot this ID map. It tells dedo what, like if I want to make a leather texture and I want it to go on this area, I can just pick the color and it'll like apply it to that color, and I'll show you guys that stuff too. And then the other maps I do are the normal map. So it uses the normal map to generate some other maps to make the texturing process a little bit easier. And then also an ambient occlusion map. I don't know if that's up here, but I think I already showed you guys earlier anyway. But I can show you really quick. So this is like my base texture map. Yeah, so there's my ambient occlusion map. It uses that to sort of this map will kind of tell the program where areas are recessed and stuff. So it allows for if you want to add dirt or something and you want it to go just in the recessed areas, it knows where those areas are. So yeah, it's pretty good for the program to know that. So here it is. This is kind of the setup. I've already inputted all this stuff, but this is basically the setup for it, where you load an object, you load your mesh file. So in this case, it would be my vest mesh. My low poly vest mesh would go here. I'd load my material ID here, my ambient occlusion map, and my normal map, and then it would generate some specular maps and whatnot based off of those to start with. But we'll get into that once I'm actually in there. And I don't know if I need to reload this. Try loading it again. Yeah. Okay, so, and there's a pretty cool viewer in here that lets you see your item with all the spec maps and the normal maps and any new materials you might add to this. Yeah, so here it's loading. All right, here we go. So yeah, so here's my vest mesh. And it's got a pretty cool lighting model in here. And one thing is, I dropped the ambient occlusion. It's a little too heavy. And you can actually, so I've already kind of added my first material here. And if you right click, it'll actually show you the material ID, and you can actually from here select which area of the model you want that specific material to be applied to. And in this case, I had kind of already selected a leather material and told it to apply it to this base, this under portion right here. So I haven't textured or done anything, and it's already got kind of a cool like leather material on there. It's pretty automated. It has like a dirt built into it. But let's go through and apply some more materials so you can kind of see how that works and how kind of easy and intuitive this program makes it. So let's add a material to the padding areas, and none of this is final, but we'll kind of go with something here, maybe like a nylon rubberish kind of material. So we'll pick rubber. And it's got like all sorts of materials that you can pick, like a bunch of cloth materials, lots of metals. You have a lot of variety here. And these are all just like the base materials built into this dedo program. And most of them look pretty amazing, like right off the bat. So, okay, so we'll do rubber. And there's like colors here, but you can change your color and all that stuff, like, on the fly. So. Like I'm going to pick this ugly green color, but it doesn't need to be ugly green. I can easily change that. So it's kind of going through and, going through all the maps and applying that material. Okay, so as you can see, it covered the whole mesh with that green rubber, and we don't want that. So the color ID map allows me to apply it to a specific section. In this case, I want the rubber padding. So I'm just going to go in here, and oh, that actually went and tried to apply a new one. But we can actually select it from here too, so I think it was this one. So the color ID will now tell it where it needs to go, and there it goes. So now it has applied this rubber material to all the padded areas of the vest. And it's obviously very clean and shiny, so we'll probably want to like add some dirt and stuff to that. But let's just get like a decent like color going on both of these. That's pretty easy. Click the little folder here, and it will let you go in. And this one doesn't even have dirt, but we can easily add dirt to it later. But we can get rid of the green first, the ugly, ugly green. Go with more of like a darker value. And everything is like adjustable, so it's like you can add in the colors, and if you don't like it, easily. So there it goes, kind of added like a dark brown. And I have some reference here next to me, which kind of gives me sort of like a look at some similar type of, real world item, like a, like a military, jacket or something that might have similar colors that I can kind of reference and look at and be like, okay, that color palette kind of works. Ryan, we got any questions there? Or?
Let's see. One question: are you using a Cintiq?
I am using a Cintiq. Very fortunate to be using a 24-inch Cintiq at work, and I also own one at home. But it's definitely not necessary. I know a lot of people who still just use tablets at home, and their work is equally or better. So a Cintiq, while being an excellent tool, is not it's not a necessity for any of this kind of art. Okay, so I've kind of added a rubber, but I don't like how saturated it is, so we're going to change that a little bit more. Go to more of a gray. There it goes. So it's really shiny. The great part about this program is you can kind of go into like the specular channels at any time. Like if I think it's too shiny, I can go in here and adjust one of the maps, and it'll update it on the fly. I believe this makes it. Yeah, there we go. So now it's not quite as crazy shiny. And I might want to come back and bring that back up once I add like dirt or something to it. But so we can actually go ahead and do that. Let's try that. Let's add a dirt. There's something called rubber stress, which I'm assuming adds. So anything you add onto it, like this one's called rubber stress, and I'm guessing that's kind of like a worn areas, and it kind of applies it based off of masks. So, and these masks are based off of your ambient occlusion map, a curvature map, which is generated from your normal map, which is, I can kind of show you guys what that looks like too. But so right now I'm in kind of this mask adjusting mode, where here and you can actually look. So this is kind of what my mask looks like right now for these padded areas, and it was adding like this the worn area into these white areas. But I can actually change those. You can change the mask. They have a bunch of presets that work really well. So let's try this light edge scratches, and you can actually see the mask update. Let's see. So there it goes. And then let's go back into our PBR show. There we go. It's kind of hard to see here because the stress is actually kind of oh, actually I'm still in my. Let's go back to the color, the albedo. Yeah, it's white. It's just not as apparent. And one of the cool new features of Dedo is you used to not be able to paint into the. And I'm going to turn on undo so I can undo stuff here. But it used to be that you couldn't paint onto the mask, but now you can easily do that. You see, okay, so it's actually doing it, but it's not Must be like a really subtle detail. Let's add a dirt because that'll be more apparent and probably more interesting. Oh wait, okay, so I have to accept the mask. And this is probably the only downside to D2 is just whenever you go between functionality, it like it has to process all the changes that you made. So like let's add like a dirt of some sort on top. And we'll add like we'll try sand, see how that works. So it's doing its thing. All right, so it just, so that looks awesome. It just put the dirt across all of it at 100% opacity. So the thing now that we want to do is add a mask to this so that it's only placing it in specific areas. And so we go back into mask mode. Oh, yes, I can do that. Okay. And here we go. Okay, so it brought up the mask. And we want, so for dirt, I think we want something where it's kind of speckled and not too heavy, but you can kind of, just see where it builds up kind of thing. So, and there's actually a dirt function. So we'll try dirt mask. It's one of the presets. See how that goes. Is it still thinking? Okay, so there it worked. And that might still be too much. It might be like way too heavy. So let's try something a little bit more subtle. We'll try, I'll try this one, sandy dirt. And there we go. Yeah, that's a little better. I mean, it's still way too sort of dirty, and I feel like it, because it's called sandy, it kind of almost looks like beach sand. So this might be something where, actually, we'll show the painting part too, though. So if we look at the mask, that's kind of like the way it's applying that dirt to the rubber. And so it's obviously, we can actually probably invert the mask, and maybe that will be more subtle. So if we invert the mask, oh, that is not what I thought would happen. Why did it do that? Okay, I might just have to paint this out, or so it gives you these sliders that sometimes will help you either reduce or increase what you're looking at. So I don't know if that's having any effect. And it's kind of a sort of a back and forth process. So yeah, that was not the right thing to do. Okay, let's see if the curvature does anything. It's not doing it right. But so this is one of those cases where I'm going to want to go in and actually paint it out manually so that, okay, so let's go in here. Let's go to a dark color, and it has all these cool brushes that you can paint with. I usually don't like to paint with these solid colors, so we'll go into like, let's see, yeah, like something like this where it's just kind of a speckled brush. So we'll choose something like that. Get some angle, jitter, spacing. Where is the brush? Oh, here we go. There we go. That's better. Size jitter. And where's the fall off? It's always pen pressure and brush tip shape. I thought there was a pen pressure on there. Okay, well, this is probably good enough. So we're going to go in here and paint out some of the dirt here. Let's increase the opacity a little. So you can kind of see that the dirt is starting to go away. And I just want to make it much more subtle. If you look at the mask, I'm painting black in. And wherever it's black, it's kind of removing that dirt. So yeah, I just don't want it to be as apparent as it is now. So I'm going to end up going in here and painting in. And Ryan also uses DJU a lot. I don't know if he, do you usually custom paint a lot of stuff in here, Ryan?
It just depends on what I'm making at the time.
Yeah. I think everything we do for H1Z1, we kind of want it to look a little, beat up. We don't want anything to look super new, just so it looks like it's kind of been part of like that post-apocalyptic world. Any new questions over there, Zoom?
You do have. What is the name of this program, and do all these textures come with it?
Do all these textures? I'm not sure.
I think they mean materials.
Yes, all the materials come with DDU. So the cool thing about DDU is it has a bunch of these materials built in, and they're all pretty amazing. They look great, like right off the bat. There's another program called Substance Painter it's a similar kind of texturing program by a different company. This one, DDU, is made by Quixel. And DDU is literally just DDO. So if you want to look that up, it should be pretty easy to find through Google. The other one, Substance Painter, is made by a company called Algorithmic, and it's more of a so what I'm doing here, where I'm doing this hands-on painting, Substance is basically all hands-on painting, but it still comes with a lot of cool materials. My experience has been that the base default materials that Substance Painter comes with are not quite as good. They don't look quite as good to me as the ones in Quixel, but Substance Painter is also connected to a program called Substance Designer, where you can make your own materials, and I don't think you can make them for DDU as of now, but that could very well change. So, yeah, going through here. Are there any other questions, Sim, or is that it?
No, not a lot pertaining to the actual work you're doing.
Okay, cool. So this is kind of where I'm going here. So, like, yeah, I mean, I'm getting to a point where I feel like, there's some gradual dirt buildup, and it's not like overwhelming. It's just sort of a subtle, nice detail. And I don't know. I'll just stay with the front, just so it's not like. Actually, this should hopefully fix my seam. Great thing about programs like Substance Painters, and even this, it should be better for DDU as well, as you don't have to worry about seams and stuff, which is nice. All right, so we'll accept that. So I probably should paint the stuff on the back too, but we'll just go with this for now so we can focus on other areas. And you can add, okay, so there it goes. It accepted my mask, and now it's a little less noisy, but it's still, you can still see there's obviously dirt. It might be a little too, scatter uniform, but that's okay. And we can also, I'm not sure if what I would like to add in is a worn edges kind of thing, and I'm not sure. Oh, maybe you can do that. I'm not sure. I know you can do scratches. Maybe there's a way I can do grunge. Basically, I want to add some worn edges onto the leather there to make it look a little bit more used. I think a good way might just be to add a grunge map or something. Let's see here. Yeah, let's just do that. Let's just add no, that doesn't really work very well. There's so many cool options though. Sometimes I find myself going from category to category and oh, this one's nice, but this one's even better kind of thing. I don't know if you experience a similar kind of process there, Zimmerman.
I wasn't paying attention. I was reading the chat.
Okay, well, let me know if there's anything new in there.
Okay.
Okay, so I kind of added a grunge layer, which sort of just went crazy on my thing here. So we're going to have to mask that. Yeah. And I think I want to just have that show up on the edges. And I'm not quite sure if this is the way I want to go, but maybe it would have been better to, because they also have grunge maps. They also have leather, probably some dirtier rubber materials that I could have started with. But sometimes you just get a better result if you do it yourself. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. So right now I'm selecting a mask that will hopefully kind of... Okay, so yeah, that's kind of what I want. You know, it gets me to a certain point. I want to get like that edge wear on it. Right now it kind of looks almost metallic. It's probably meant more for like a metal material, but we can easily fix that. But for now, we're going to accept the mask. Like we could obviously go back and paint on it to make it look a little bit better, and probably blur it a little bit or something. But I think what I really want to do is, you know, change the specularity and stuff in the color because it's obviously too light. So we'll change the color to be a little bit darker. And did I do anything? Did not do anything. Maybe the spec... Oh, this is the roughness, that's why. That would explain it. The roughness is part of the... It kind of defines the surface of your material and how shiny it should be. Okay, so now that's a little bit better. It's a little darker. And then we want it to be obviously not very specular at all. So we're going to crank this like way up. And I think that did it. Let me see if... I always can't remember what the rotate thing is. Oh, there we go. Yeah, so the specularity has gone down. The color is probably still too bright for being this kind of worn rubber. It should probably be pretty close to what the base color is like. Let's see if that... Yeah, that's getting better. I'm really curious why it's still so white, though. Let me look at the... There should be pretty much no metalness. Shine should be pretty low. Let's go into the... So this is showing just the color. And the color is still really light. And it might just be because this grunge is light. Is a light color. So let's just make this even darker. See how that works. So it looks like it's kind of adding blacks in. And we can actually drop the opacity and stuff too. Thought that was... Yeah, that's a little better. Yeah, so now we're getting kind of like this worn edge. And I'm not totally sold on it, but I just wanted to kind of give you guys an idea of how that would work. Maybe we could actually go in and paint more into the mask. So this is definitely my favorite part about DDO now, is it giving you the ability to be able to straight paint onto your model, and to adjust the mask. That is pretty great. Okay, so we're going to go use this one. We'll paint with white. Yeah, that's too bright. Drop the opacity. So if we go back, yeah, you can see it's starting to get a little bit more worn along the edge. And I might be using a brush that looks too kind of scattered here. Fabric? No. I want something, in this case I do want something a little bit more solid and soft. So we could go with, let's go with this. Let's paint with this. I always kind of like to look at how it's affecting my map too. My mask, I'm sorry. So let's kind of get rid of some of that and then paint this in. Maybe even still too bright. Let's go back and see what it's doing. But I think just because of how robust these programs are nowadays, it's like you just can't mimic this kind of realism with hand painting. I mean, you could, but it would just take a really long time. And, you know, once we started using this, it was like, you know, we'd look at some of our older assets and kind of be like, they don't quite hold up. Don't quite hold up as well. They don't quite look as real as what we're doing now. Almost makes me want to kind of go back and touch up some of those. So I think because this is a grunge map that I'm using, I'm not quite getting, like a uniform color in my wear, but it still adds like some cool variation. So I do like that. And maybe it's like worn around these little holes in the pads underneath. So, whenever we're texturing stuff like this, we're always kind of thinking, well, you want to place it obviously where it makes sense. Even though these programs are pretty amazing for texturing, you still want to do a lot of this custom, like at least sort of, it gets you about 70% there, and you kind of have to like guide it the rest of the way so that it looks a little bit more natural and doesn't look quite as, like automated by the system sort of thing. How we doing, Zim? Any questions there?
Are we going to have a player studio set up?
Unfortunately, I'm not the person to ask about that. I don't know. I have actually not worked on a game with player studio functionality, so I don't know how that works in terms of like, who makes that call or how that even affects us. I don't know, Zim, you might actually be more qualified to answer that question.
Oh, I honestly do not know. I would assume at some point, but I do not know.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of always the mentality that, we're just cranking, new stuff all the time. And so is it happening anytime soon? I don't think so, because like we don't know about it, but can it happen at some point in the future? I would say yes. It's always a possibility.
And also, do you need to make a separate mesh for a female?
So this was actually a debate we had early on in production, and it was probably good that we established this early on. But originally, I did kind of want to make, an ideal situation would be to make unique male and female items for everything, just because, when you're sculpting folds and stuff, obviously onto a female body, like an outfit, an item that is fitted to a female, the folds are very different. So while I wanted to do that, it didn't really seem very feasible, having to do two unique items for every wearable, every item that we do in the game is just probably a little too much work. We don't have the manpower for that. So for the most part, we make a male item and we fit it to the female item, mesh, and we do it that way so that it's easily transferable. But there are some items that we made unique. I think the tank top, there is a unique male version and a unique female version. And I think we will do more items that are fit to the female first. I know there's been a lot of people wanting like skirts and stuff. And, if we ever do skirts, we will fit it to the female most likely. And then it'll just get ported to the male or something like that. So. We want people to be able to wear whatever they want. If we put it in game, we want, if you're a male character in the game, you should still be able to wear everything, or vice versa. So, yeah, so we do not make a unique item for every, we do not make unique items for the male versus the female at this point. Yeah, okay, so anyway. So that's kind of a pretty good, starting point, at least for that rubber material. Everything can be adjusted. I'm going to switch over to the leather material that I had placed under here earlier. So we're going to accept the mask here. And it's going to, let's see if that, go. There it's going, it's thinking.
There's a lot of people asking about another map stream.
Oh yeah,
they want back in here. Yeah.
They want Devin. The crowd has spoken.
They just want to see the map. I can tell you, it looks amazing. From what I've seen, it's amazing.
Yeah, and I'm sure there will be a stream when that gets,
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. Fortunately, I just don't know a whole lot about the map. Okay, so is there any other questions based on what we're doing here?
There was a question a while ago about why are the arms hole closed?
Oh, yeah. So that's just kind of a low poly thing that I do where, you know, when the armor is on the character, I don't want like holes and stuff. Actually, what might be kind of cool is I can go back to the sculpt and I can actually show you what this looks like on the whole character. Ooh. All right, so I think you guys already have seen the knee pad pants, but kind of a preview of what this armor would look like, on your character. So yeah, so the hole sort of just fills in the gap that your arm would just be there, and when the character's wearing it, it won't look like a closed hole, obviously, but that will prevent you from being able to like see through the mesh and stuff like that. So it's just sort of a low poly modeling technique that we use just to prevent having holes in the mesh that you can see through. So yeah, that's why it's capped like that. It's a little weird, and I might go into the texture and actually make it darker, so when it's being worn, it looks like it's more of a hole, like a faked kind of effect. Okay, let's go into the. Did I lose my menu? I hate it when that happens. Where's my menu? There it is. Okay. All right, go back to the weather. So we're gonna go into the. Actually, you know what? I want to let's add another material. Let's mix it up here. We'll try to add like sort of a cloth to these pouches. That'll be more interesting, I think. So we'll go with like, let's see, cloth. Oh yeah, we'll do this burlap. Let's see how the burlap looks. Looking at all these materials and seeing what might. Oh, unless this doesn't have dirt built in, I kind of want to do something that has dirt already built into the material. But oh, that's pretty cool actually. I do like that. All right, so we'll go with this for the pouches. Let me just see what kind of. Okay, that's red. So we're gonna go back and make sure it just gets applied to the pouches. Okay, what? No, it's because whenever I do it with the pen, it seems to not react well. All right, here we go. Thinking, doing this. Okay, there we go. So it applied the sort of, and it might be actually dual. Oh, it actually still looks good. Like I had baked, as a test, I had kind of baked out that surface detail onto this pouch alone, but it doesn't seem to be overpowering. Like, so it's a good thing. It's on the back pouch too. So let's kind of go with like a standard military green on this. Go in here. Oh, cool, and it's got dirt and stuff built in, so we can. So what I like to do is turn off the extra stuff and work one little. I don't know what you would call this, like material component at a time. So within this burlap material, there's like an edgeware and a dirt built into it. So I kind of like to go one sort of thing at a time and adjust it one at a time. So we'll go with like a military green kind of thing here. See how that looks. Yeah. Zim, can you actually see what I'm working on over there? Or?
I can.
Okay, cool.
It's looking nice.
Thanks. Okay. I think that looks too saturated. So we're going to drop the color a little bit more. And maybe I should have reference that, but that's okay. It doesn't really need it. See what. Always get some sort of reference of. Yeah, that's a good reference. Yeah, it's way more of like an olive kind of yellowish. And we'll go even darker. So I may have to actually the detail might look a little large here. And I think you can actually scale this probably down so that it looks a little bit, yeah, there we go. Yeah, see now I think before it was kind of killing the components a little bit. Like you couldn't even see the stitching. You couldn't see like the little tag here hanging out. So you can actually scale your detail, and I scaled it down so that it was a little bit smaller. So, I mean, you can kind of already look at this and be like, that kind of looks, it reads like a real pouch, I mean, the poly count is pretty low, so it's obviously not going to be like, super realistic, but I think the material read is already pretty nice. So let's take a look at the back pouch too and see how that looks. Yeah. And I don't know if maybe it's a little too strong, so we could probably actually, I don't know if there's a way to, I don't know if this just reduces the color as well, which I don't want. Let's see if that's doing anything. I'm not really sure what. Oh, I'm sorry, the texture. I should probably be messing with the texture intensity. That's probably what I want to mess with. There we go, I think. Okay, yeah. Yeah, and to be honest, like, even I've only been using this program for like 3 or 4 months now, so there's still a lot of stuff that I don't know about it. Okay, so we're going to go on to the edge wear and see if we can get some of the edges to pop off with that. Oh, so that's pretty cool. And the edge wear, it looks a little too strong, and it's obviously like beige because the original color was beige. And this is actually probably, oops, that's not what I wanted to do. Okay. Yeah, that was better. Okay, so we're going to go to the edge wear and also kind of bring it into the range, the same color, so that it makes sense. We'd probably want to see like a lighter green there. And that's way too saturated. Way too colorful. Yeah, there we go. Yeah. Yeah, and I don't even feel like I really have to paint in. Like, I guess I could paint in some more stuff here at the near the bottom of the pouch or something like that. But just for, in terms of like how I like how it's looking, I'm pretty happy with that already. So, point of reference, it's like if I was texturing this in Photoshop by hand, I'd probably spend a lot more time on it trying to get it, even to this degree, it would take me a while. So we're going to add the dirt, see what that brings. Yeah, I like that. That looks pretty good to me. Again, like I might want to go in and like mess around with it, but it looks pretty good. It's it's like 80% there. So I think we can kind of move on and do another material here. Oh, let's do the metal pieces because we haven't done any metals. Let's do the metal. Ryan, do we have any questions? Or
No, Chad is actually pretty good about answering the questions themselves.
Oh yeah. Oh, because we have. That's right.
They do have several developers.
We have some of our amazing dev team in there. Some environment artists and character artists and whatnot, like answering questions for us. So that's pretty awesome. Okay, metal. So yeah, just a little kind of metal do we want? Let's actually go in here and we can kind of see what the materials look like. Okay. Stained steel. I usually like to pick something that will have something, some dirt built into it, since that is easily adjustable once you get in there. I kind of like having the options there, and if there's something I don't like, I can just turn it off. So we'll go with like a, yeah, like a, I don't know if I want it to look rusty necessarily. Dirty would be good. Here we go. This might work. Dirty scratch painted steel. Let's do that. Let's do that one. Even though my metal areas are pretty small, I still want to pick something that's a little bit more interesting. We'll do that, and we'll do some of these clips and stuff too, because those are different materials. You got kind of a leather going on, and rubber, and then like kind of a burlap kind of cloth. Yeah, that's kind of what the metal would look like. So obviously, you know, it applies to everything. You don't freak out. It just needs to be applied to the proper. I think there. Okay, it's black. It is black. Oh, what's going on? There we go. Let's do it. Do its thing. And that did not work. All right. It's not letting me select the proper ID map. There we go. So it applied it to like all these little rivets and little screw thingies. Let's see what else. Oh yeah, and also the rings here. These are really low poly, so they don't look great, but for something, you know, for our game's purposes, it should be fine. Like, we just can't afford to make them super high poly. Oh, it's also on the zipper here. So I'm not crazy about the black, so we're going to go in and change it to more of a lighter color. And I think it might just, oh, it's got the black paint on it, that's why. So it's scratching off the paint, obviously, to expose that. Let's actually turn stuff off and just kind of go one thing at a time here. Right, for some reason it always, okay, there it goes. Okay. Turn off the paint as well. Okay. Yeah, so that's pretty cool. Like, even though, you know, I want to come back and add some of that stuff back on, it's kind of nice seeing the shiny metal next to the other materials. Sort of, it gives you different reads and it's more interesting to look at. So I don't want it to look this pristine, obviously, because it's too clean. So we'll add the paint back on, and maybe, and I think maybe just have it more worn. So we're going to go back into the mask and try to wear it out a little bit more. All right. There we go. So now it's in here. And yeah, Zim, if you have any, if there's any new questions or if you actually have any suggestions about my texturing, please do comment.
Someone wants to know if the vest will carry any stuff.
I'm not sure. Do our current vests carry stuff?
Not currently.
Yeah, so not currently. I'm gonna say probably not. That would, unless they, you know, make a call to have all vests, you know, have some sort of carrying capacity. I don't see that being anything different for this one. It'll basically just be a cool new item that you will be able to skin. So yeah, I mean, for us as artists, we're all about just trying to add more visual variety into the game. You know, we want people to be able to select items that they want to make themselves look unique, so that like people can become more personalized with their characters and stand out in their own kind of, in their own way. So let me take a look here. Oh wow, it's like masking out most of the paint, and that might be too much actually. So actually, I wonder if I can. This always kind of gets in the way sometimes. Okay, let's do another edge one. Edges, light edges. How are we doing on time? Okay, it's 4. We can maybe add a couple more materials and wrap it up. Okay, so that's pretty good. Let's go into the, okay, so we're going to accept the mask. Let's see if, quirky little button.
Someone wants to know if we'll be making a camo version of this one.
You know what? I'm going to go out on a limb and say yes. I think we will definitely be making a camo version. We kind of want to make tints, variations of an item that will work well in Just Survive as well as King of the Kill, and so I think camo versions are kind of liked, across the board. So we'll definitely be doing a camo version, I would think. Okay, so that was pretty cool, actually. This mud added a nice variation into the metal. It breaks up the spec. Obviously, it doesn't look brand new, but you still see the shine. So that's kind of a nice little mixture. And then we'll turn the dirt back on, and we'll see if this maybe kills it too much. So it does sort of kill it quite a bit. I'm not even sure I need that. Well, let's just turn that off. Yeah, so I'm kind of happy with it at this point. And even the mud, to me, feels like it's killing the spec a little bit too much, at least for my tastes. So we can actually drop the opacity a little bit. Do that. Yeah. Yeah, make sure I'm in my albedo. Maybe even in the roughness. So on the roughness, it should have... Okay, maybe not. There we go. All right, cool. So why don't we add? We'll do one more material, and then I think we'll call it. We'll field any last second questions, and then we'll just probably call it a wrap here. So let's just add one more material here. We'll go for like a plastic. Go for like a plastic here. Go into the plastic. Yeah, like the old. Whenever it says old or dirty, I like it. So many good options. Here we go. Yeah, I really do enjoy using... here we go. Let's do something like this. Worn PVC plastic. But we probably don't want it to be green. Maybe we can go with a black for the plastics. I don't know. I wonder if there are any developers in our viewers today.
Yeah, I've seen some people correct other people, so I think there are.
Yeah, it's usually a nice mix, right? Okay.
Someone wants to know how long a model this size would take.
Let's see. I spent like a day just sort of messing around with conceptual sort of ideas on which way I wanted to go with this, and then probably like half a day to a day modeling in Maya, just getting my base meshes prepared, and then probably like 2 to 3 days sculpting. And I wasn't working like super fast nor super slow because I didn't want to rush it. But now that I'm in the texturing, probably a day for retopo and bake. So how many days is that so far? 1, 2, 5, 6, and then maybe like a couple days to texture and like do an LOD or something like that. So like 8 maybe?
Sounds reasonable.
Yeah. And obviously, if you're under time constraints, you kind of learn to cut certain corners. One of the nice things I think about being at Daybreak is we do seem to get enough time to like work on this stuff, which I'm pretty happy about. Okay, so probably hit up. Yeah, so I'm doing these plastic. What do you call these Zim clips? What do you call these?
Yeah, I guess, or yeah, clips.
Like these connection, the belt. Yeah, I guess they're buckles, right? They're clip buckles or something like that. And these are actually pretty low poly too. You can kind of see some of the strangeness of the normal map, but I think from a viewing distance in our game, it won't make a difference. So we're gonna go into the albedo, and I don't want them to be like super bright green, so we'll go to like a fairly dark blackish kind of color. But I mean, I look at this and it's got the nice damage already built into it. Maybe it's a little too shiny, so maybe we go into the roughness a little bit, and it's actually really well, it is a plastic, so I guess they wanted it to be pretty shiny. So we're gonna do that. Okay, actually I like that better. Less shiny, and I could probably add a dirt to it or something. And it's on this little pouch too. Actually, yeah, that looks pretty good. So we went through a pretty like obviously I would keep going here. You know, I will keep going to finish texturing it and adding all. But like this belt would probably be pretty similar material to the pouch, and you know, these extra little leather components will either match the leather or the rubber here. So I think in terms of like you know, demonstrating what this program can do and you know, how we kind of use it to texture our items and how realistic they can look. I think I've covered most of it. Are there any? Yeah, I mean, if there's no other crazy questions, I think we can call it a wrap here pretty soon.
I think we're all caught up.
All right. Okay, so one last thing I kind of want to do is change the color of the leather. I just feel like it doesn't quite work here. It's probably just too saturated. Maybe we can make it a little darker. I don't know, Zim, you got any suggestions here for me?
Which part are you working on?
Not necessarily focusing
just
on it.
in general?
Yeah, just in general.
I think it looks good. You got some nice contrasts. I know you're not done with it.
Yeah, it definitely still needs a lot of work, but I'm hoping the viewers got kind of an idea of how we go about texturing this, and you know, our thought process when we're selecting the materials and stuff like that, and setting up the masks here to control the dirt and the scratches and stuff in this program. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Eventually, once it's fully textured, I will go into Photoshop and just make it tintable. And you know, we have to set it up with our proprietary shader so we can give you guys lots of cool variations. You know, hopefully a camo version. And maybe a Tron version. I'm sure we'll do some pretty, you know, garish tints as well. So we can, you know, get some crazy looking variation in King of the Kill. But yeah, I don't know, Zim, you got anything to add here?
I do not.
All right, guys. Well, it's been fun, and hopefully on some future items I can come back and you know, do another one of these and maybe maybe do some sculpting for you guys next time. That would be fun. I don't know if anybody would be interested in that, but that's probably my favorite part of the process. Okay, cool. Well, yeah, I mean, I guess if there's nothing else, we'll call it a wrap here. Sounds good? All right, guys. Thanks for joining. Thanks for listening, and until next time.